ClancyPasta presents I Can Taste Death, written by AnAverageDevin and narrated by Clancy. Death is inevitable. We don't know when it will happen, simply that someday it will come for us all. Well, mostly people don't know when, but I do. This is going to sound weird, but I can taste death. So, what do I mean by that? Well, it's quite simple, really. Whenever I eat a meal cooked by someone and they are close to death, I can taste it. It can be something as simple as a PB&J. If the person who made it has death looming over them, then I will taste it. Depending on how close to death they are, the flavor will be weaker or stronger, but the taste is unmistakable. The first experience I remember with my ability was in 3rd grade. My homeroom teacher was in a cheerful mood, so much so that she had made the whole class chocolate chip cookies for no particular reason. Of course, being 3rd graders, we were all ecstatic to get a treat in the middle of class. Chocolate chip cookies have always been my favorite, so I couldn't wait to bite into my cookie. When I did, however, I instantly regretted it. Have you ever smelled a rotten egg? Well, picture that, but about 10 times worse. That was the flavor that I got from these cookies. I looked around the classroom to see if anyone else was in as much distress as I was, but I was the only one. It seemed as if everyone else was enjoying their treats. Was the teacher playing a prank on me? Had she given a bad cookie intentionally? I picked up my cookie and smelled it. It smelled completely normal. I took another nibble at the cookie. I almost instantly vomited, but I was somehow able to keep it in. I passed the cookie to one of my nearby friends, and I carefully watched as they devoured it. They had made no odd reaction when eating it. How was that possible? I began to think there was something wrong with me. Perhaps I was sick. I made it through the rest of the day, avoiding all food. That night, just before I was about to go to sleep, my mom came into my room. She told me that school had been canceled for the next day. When I asked her why, she got a solemn look on her face. She told me that one of my teachers had been in a car accident, and that she would be in heaven now. Even as a 10-year-old, I knew there was some connection between my teacher's death and the taste of her cookies. I just wasn't exactly sure what at the time. No, I wouldn't truly understand my ability until a few years later. I was 14 and was about to begin my first day of high school. My mom was so excited that she had gotten up extra early to make my favorite breakfast: banana pancakes, crispy maple bacon, and golden hash browns. She had pulled out all the stops. My mouth was watering before I even made it to the kitchen. My mom had always been the best cook. So I thought it was a bit strange that this meal had a faint taste of something foul to it. It was a different taste than that of my teacher's cookies, but it certainly wasn't a good flavor. I could just barely taste it, but it was there. My father and younger brother made no complaints about the food, not that they would anyway. So I just ignored it. A couple months later, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. She was a strong woman though, and she wanted to keep cooking for us. The foul flavor to her food simply kept getting worse though, and so did her health. Eventually, I took over the cooking responsibilities from her. I simply couldn't stand to eat her food anymore. My mother died about 2 years after her diagnosis. It was one of the worst times of my life, but it was when I truly began to understand my ability. As I've gotten older, I have learned even more about my power to taste death. It turns out there are different flavors for death, and I've begun to understand which are which. For example, my teacher's cookies had tasted like an incredibly bad rotten egg, and she had been in a brutal accident. My mother's food, however, had had a bitter medicine taste to it, and she had died to cancer. None of the flavors are good, though. It is death, after all. I haven't really found a practical use for my ability yet, since I can't determine exactly when someone will die. I just know the stronger the taste, the closer they are to death. I do play a bit of a morbid game with myself. Whenever I eat food that I haven't cooked, and I get the taste of death from the food, I try to guess how the person will die. I will read the obituaries in the newspaper to see how close I get. I've gotten pretty good at it. The reason I'm writing this, though, is because recently I've had an experience with my ability that has me a bit worried. My girlfriend and I decided to make a homemade pizza. We made it together. We even took turns tossing the dough in the air like you see on TV all the time. I thought the pizza had turned out fantastic. It looked phenomenal. As soon as it finished baking, I instantly pulled it out and began fanning it so it would cool down quicker. Once it was at a safe enough temperature to not burn my mouth, I dug in. The flavor hit me almost immediately, but not the flavor I had hoped for. It tasted like murder. That couldn't be right. I took another bite and there it was again. I've tasted enough food made by murdered people to know this flavor, but I still can't accept it. My biggest question was, who was the flavor for? We had made the pizza together. Would I be murdered? My girlfriend? Both of us? Would one of us murder the other? I have so many questions, but not much time. The flavor of murder was quite strong, so I know it must be coming soon. Now that I think about it, my girlfriend has been acting quite strange recently. She's on the phone with someone in the other room right now, and she's trying to talk in a hushed voice. Is she plotting my murder right now? I'm sorry, but I just can't sit back and let this happen. After she gets off the phone, I'm going to end this once and for all. I just hope the taste goes away. ClancyPasta presents The New Year Won't Be New for Me. Written by AnAverageDevin and narrated by Clancy. "2018 has been the worst year of my life. I found out my girlfriend of 2 years has been cheating on me. I was fired from my job. My dog was kidnapped. My best friend died in a car crash. Worst of all, however, is that this will be the 8th time I've lived through 2018. I'll start from the first time. It was just before midnight on New Year's Eve. I was alone, of course. I'm not a religious person, but after the horrible year I had experienced, I was ready to try anything. I prayed to any god that would listen. I wished that I would never have to experience another year like 2018. Either the god that listened to me is a sadist, or a demon heard my plea instead. Instead of granting my wish, they are making me live through the worst year of my life over and over. The first time I experienced the time loop, I thought it truly was a gift, and not a curse. I was wrong. I woke up in my bed like any other morning. Nothing seemed different. That was until I made my way to my kitchen. I noticed that the layout of my furniture in the living room was different than it had been the night before. Then my phone began to ring. It was my girlfriend, or rather my ex-girlfriend. I had broken up with her after finding out she was sleeping around with her boss. But then why had her name come as Lover with a heart emoji next to it? I knew I had changed that long ago. I ignored the call. I soon received a text message that said, "Hey baby, call me when you wake up. I wanted to tell you I'll be home late tonight. We have to catch up from all the time off during the holidays. Love you." Was she toying with me? We'd been broken up for over 6 months now. I was about to type back an angry response when I noticed the date on the background of my phone. January 1st, 2018. Was this some sort of glitch? Had my phone possibly reverted to an earlier date? There was one way to test it. I called my dead friend Ricky. He wasn't the only one drinking, but it didn't matter. He had gone out by himself one night for a late taco trip, but he never came home. The phone rang a few times before someone picked up on the other side. "Bro, you know how much I drank last night. Why the fuck are you calling me this early?" The voice on the other end said. "Ricky?" I questioned. "No, it's Santa Claus. Of course it's me. You're the one who called me," he responded. I almost dropped my phone in shock. It was unmistakably his voice and attitude. He was alive again. Was I really in 2018 again? I quickly apologized to him for calling so early, and I hung up the phone. I ran back to my room to see my other best friend lying at the foot of my bed. I had groggily walked past him when I woke up. It was my golden retriever, Apollo. He had been stolen from me the previous year. Someone had broken into my home while I was at work. They took everything of value, including my dog. I basically jumped on him with excitement. He was confused at first, but after a few seconds he began to play back. This was like a dream come true. I was given the opportunity to fix the worst year of my life. Except I wasn't. I marked down the date that each terrible event occurred, determined to reverse fate. First would be fixing my relationship. I became the best boyfriend imaginable. Even Hallmark movies had nothing on me. I began to take my girlfriend on date after date to anywhere she wanted. I surprised her with flowers every chance I got. I loved her with everything I had. But it wasn't enough. No matter how many times I live through 2018, she always cheats. No matter how hard I try, it never matters. Well, I guess you can't change a person after all. Perhaps this was a sign I was better off without her anyway. So I moved on to focus on preventing Apollo from being kidnapped. I upgraded the security in my home. I added cameras, sensors, anything to stop what I knew would happen. I even stayed home the day he went missing to make certain he would stay with me. But once again, it didn't matter. Despite my efforts, my dog gets kidnapped every 2018. If I stay home with him the original day he went missing, then he disappears the next day. I tried bringing him almost everywhere with me, but the moment I leave him for 5 minutes, he's gone. I could still save Ricky though, right? Even if I lost everything else, I could just save Ricky. I could still be a little happy. We had grown up together, and his death stacked upon the rest of my year had driven me to the brink of suicide. I couldn't follow through with it, but it was the closest I had ever come to death myself. The night Ricky died, he had been alone, so I went to his house that night instead. I brought tacos with me, so there would be no need for a trip out. Ricky lived for about a week. He was once again hit by a drunk driver. Once again, nothing I do ever matters. Every year I try to save Ricky, and every year he dies. The only way I could see saving him is if I tied him up and locked him in my basement, but I don't think I could do that. I imagine after this New Year's Eve I will once again wake up in 2018. I'm writing this in hopes that it somehow makes it to 2019, and maybe someone out there can help me. I just want 2018 to be over. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's narration. I want to give a huge thanks to last month's $5 and up patrons. Scorchin O, Rain S, Samuel S, Coney Pone, Gavin KL, Amanda W, PDR, Nabby, Gabriel B, James T, Benjamin K, Tim D28, Mr. Creeps, Tyler P, and all the other $5 and up and $2 patrons on screen as well. All of your support makes these narrations possible, and I appreciate it a ton. If you'd like to join these lovely ghouls, I'd appreciate it if you check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you'll get an exclusive narration that will never, ever be uploaded to my channel. Usually, one a bit too extreme for YouTube. So that's at least one extra video every month for just $1, if not more. For $2 a month, you'll get thanked in the end scroll of every video, and for just $5 a month, I'll shout you out at the end of multiple videos a month personally. You also get exclusive Discord roles for those perks as well. If you'd like to chat with me for a bit, you can join me on a monthly live stream for just $10 a month and get a signed merch sticker for $25 a month. And if you're in the market for some horrifying shirts and hoodies, you can head on over to my Teespring store in the description as well. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at @2ndClancy. I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Have a good night, everybody. Cheers.